Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet. Today we are checking out my first full album from ATEEZ with the Treasure episode 1. Yes, all to 0. We're getting started with it. I've gotten quite a few comments, which is totally fine. Love getting all the comments and making sure that people are pointing me in the right direction. Nothing gets kind of falls through the cracks of my journey. But I've gotten quite a few comments of people asking me if I'm going to be checking out B-sides, making sure that I specifically check out the intro for this album and the video that goes with it. This is my way of helping us take a deep breath and acknowledging that of course I'm going to check out the B-sides. I don't skip intros, outros, interludes, skits. We're going to listen to all of it. Behind the scenes, variety shows, vlogs. I'm here for the long journey. It's all good. We're going to get to all the things. It's going to take me a little while, but I have the master list. I'm very thorough. I want to watch all the things. It's exciting to reassure everybody that I am in fact going to be checking out the B-sides and all of that. And I like doing the albums before I move on to the next singles and music videos and stuff. So this is me getting to sit down and actually listen to a whole album. It's very exciting. I'm going to get 3 whole new songs that I get to listen to and add into my rotation. Get this intro that's happening, which from what I've gathered, there's a video and it's a bit of a like narrative thing kind of introducing the story. I haven't gotten into a lot of storyline stuff yet. I may change my mind, but Pirate King and Treasure didn't feel like we were really digging into that so much as just being like, hey, this is our group and this is them performing and this is their sound, letting the debut breathe. I'm excited to check out a full album from them. And of course, starting with the intro, Long Journey. I am thankful people pointed this out because it's labeled as a trailer, and I don't usually check out trailers just because, I mean, I do for like some groups where I know it's very like heavy storytelling, but like most of the time it's a sample of the album, and I usually avoid those because I like to go into an album blind. I appreciate this being pointed out as something that I should check out, and even if this has like some little parts of the songs that are coming up, I don't mind because I'm about to listen to them, but I don't like, you know, ahead of time. I don't like watching trailers because I'm like, then I have to wait for an album and I don't really want to have ideas or whatever before I go into it. So thank you to the people who made sure that I knew that this existed. Okay, we're back in this rock formation that we were in. Pirate King? Cool shot. We have some sounds of water, despite not being near any of it.
People want it. People dream about it.
Hello?
It can be different to every individual.
Dramatic.
It can complete us and destroy us.
Beautiful
It can
violins.
change the world.
Sure.
People call it treasure.
Ooh, okay. Look, I can't get through an intro without pausing. If that bothers you, leave now, forever hold your peace. I love the violins, the sound of the crashing waves by the seaside, and then that treasure being like the word, and then we have this like more like, I don't know, like cello coming in, like it has more of a like shanty, like I don't know, it's giving more of a piratey sound to the instrumentation, a little more intensity to it, which I like. I talked about in the song Treasure about how treasure isn't necessarily a material possession, but it's something precious to you, which apparently is somehow hinted on something that is going to be important later on. I don't know, that was just the word that I went with, mostly because pirates, you know, back in historical times, if I can just like special interest for a second, the word treasure originally just meant something that was important to you, just something that was of value of any kind. So when we say that like pirates were after treasure, it wasn't necessarily gold or jewels or things that we kind of see now in media, anything that they could trade for value. So there were a lot of times where they would just, you know, attack certain ships that just had a lot of products on them that were shipping from one place to another, because those products could then be sold and traded and make them money. So it isn't necessarily that treasure, even in the historical sense of pirates, was, you know, specifically like jewels or money or gold. We all want something precious that means something important to us, that gives value to our lives or why we are trying to accomplish things, our goals, all of that. That's what I'm getting so far. I love the change though in the instrumentation.
People call it treasure.
Very dramatic.
The sound of wind blowing from the horizon, the warmth of the sun hitting the ocean waves, the vibration of sand beating like the hearts of youth. We're at the starting point of this long journey.
True.
The freezing winds may make us shiver. The heat of the sun may make us thirsty. The vibrations of the sand may swallow us, but we'll never stop. Gold, eternal life, honor, love, fame. It doesn't matter what you dream for. So let me ask you, what is your treasure?
Ooh, the intensity. Here are all these different things you could want or crave. I love that it started with like gold. Again, treasure we usually associate in the more modern sense. Treasure with like gold, jewels, money, something that is like tangibly, like materially valuable, which isn't necessarily true. Like it's kind of associated with luxury. The traditional meaning of treasure was just kind of anything that was of value. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be something that is materialistic. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be something luxurious. You can want something and passionately believe in it, and it could not bring you any like ultimate wealth in the long term in terms of like material goods, but it could bring a lot of wealth into your life otherwise. I like that there's more of a rhythm to the way that he's speaking, whereas before it was very much, I'm assuming, I'm gonna go out a limb and say that the narrator is Hong Jung. But we had a conversational narration at the beginning, and after that transition in the production, it had a more deliberate rhythm to it, something a little more like leaning just a little bit into the like kind of sing-song way of talking. I like that we have like this intensity rising up with it, and then that emphasis on like, what is your treasure, and like what does it mean to you? That can be multiple things, right? I also like the freezing wind, sands swallowing us up, and the sun. And like, you know, all these kind of like elements, you know, nature itself, kind of the scale of that may be in opposition to us. Hey, we're going on this journey. We're going after something that is important to us. We understand that there are going to be barriers along the way that are outside our control, bigger than us, that are part of the nature of us going after something that is not easily within our reach. The reason we're having to fight for something, go on a journey for something, work hard for something is because we can't just reach out and get it. It isn't easily accessible. We acknowledge there are challenges, and this is the beginning of a long journey. This is the beginning of us going after that with the acknowledgement that we know there are going to be obstacles along that way, and we're ready to deal with that. We're ready to face that, to acknowledge it isn't going to be smooth sailing, which in the middle of that sentence, I was like, that's a pirate pun. I'm sorry, that may happen quite a bit against special interest with pirates. So I'm going to try and like rein myself in just a little bit, because I will just deviate off into like a lecture on the history of pirates, which is not why we're here. I will do my best.
The heat of the sun may make us thirsty. The vibrations of the sand may swallow us, but we'll never stop. Gold, eternal life, honor, love, fame. It doesn't matter what you dream for. So let me ask you, what is your treasure?
I like the blank screen there too.
Will you join us?
I mean, apparently, yes. Apparently I will. I had already acknowledged that. I got 5 seconds into the killing voice before I was like, okay. They hadn't even started singing yet. I was like, interesting. Noted. Gotcha. I like that this intro is very much introing the group and saying this is the beginning of a long journey. I like that it is kind of explaining some of the stuff of like what treasure means and bringing in some of those like kind of pirate sounds even sonically with it, and saying like, hey, this isn't just about like us being willing to go after something that's worth fighting for or putting in kind of work and sacrifice for, right, in terms of them debuting and being idols and like knowing that they're going to have fame at some point, right? They talked about that in Treasure. We had some lyrics that were about, hey, we're not there yet, but we know where our goals are. We know where the map is leading us. We're gonna get there. It's a matter of time. It's them saying that for themselves, but also I like that it's kind of this moment of, hey, we hope that I'm inferring here, so I could be wrong, but it has this feeling of, we also want our music to motivate the people who listen to it to also go after the stuff that they want. I get that from the song Treasure, of it feeling like this almost like anthem feeling to it. There's a very uplifting feeling to that song, and it's not just kind of them claiming a bit of a victory in terms of them being like, hey, we're willing to fight for this. We know we can get there. We just need to put in the work. We just need to put the time, but we will. And I think that they're setting up this idea of like, we know what our goal is, and we hope that you come along with us and that you're having fun with this journey, but also like, what is your goal? What is your treasure? What is the thing that you want? What's precious to you and that motivates you to do better, be better, accomplish things, be an impact on the world? What is that for you? Hopefully our music and journey can help motivate or parallel that for you, and we can go after those things together. I don't know. I'm new here. I'm just spitballing. Great dramatic way to introduce this album and this release. See, I know that I'm down bad for this group when literally every time I check out a new song, I have to like take a deep breath before I sit down to do it because I'm too excited. And I'm like, Sarah, if you get too excited, you won't be able to speak properly. You're just gonna kind of flail. We need to like take a deep breath, settle in, actually hear the song, and not get too excited. It's all right. Okay, we got Twilight, which also interesting because Twilight is ending, right? Twilight is the weird time between day and night. I find it interesting at like a beginning point that we're not going to have something like dawn or whatever. Maybe we'll at some point. I don't know. I put together, I have the master content list, but I also put together kind of a list of discography stuff to help me stay organized. And I cannot remember if we have something about dawn. It's interesting. The time of day we're talking about, this liminal time, right? It isn't really light. It isn't really dark. It's this strange in between. And there's usually a strange like calmness to it because, the creatures are awake during the day are going to sleep and the creatures that are awake at night haven't quite woken up yet. But it has this in-between feeling. So maybe that's part of it? I don't know.
This is how I feel about you, Twilight. It's like Twilight, yeah.
Sir.
Baby, I just wanna see that Twilight. Wanna see that with you.
Ooh. Love the beat pad. Fun, like, woodwind instrument. Ooh, okay, just before we get this, vocals. Song coming through with that falsetto. Sorry, I didn't expect you to snatch my soul in the first few seconds. Jungha, I did expect him to snatch my soul with his vocals. That seems to be the way he operates. Okay, it looks like we're talking about the Twilight time. I don't know, I don't have enough information yet, but the instrumentation there is their choreo. That instrumentation would be real good for choreo. I'm just putting ideas. I don't know.
젖은 모래 위에 우리 단둘이 함께라면 이 시간은 paradise. 날 감싸는 석양은 마치 It's mine all mine. Yeah, 우린 지금 물들어가고
Ooh, love the harmony there.
우리 맘을 눈치채고 가감히도 프롬파스트에 덮어버린 붉은 빛을 감다. 아직 마주보기 쉽지 않지만 이런 배경이 있다면 눈보는 것이 가문치야. 우리라 둘러보인 것들 우리만의 우리 안에 둘이라는 섬 한없이 달리다 드넓은 들판에 누워 녹아보는 것들.
Ooh, okay, first off, his cadence there, so much fun. Like, he just has so much character in his voice. There's just so much energy to the way he performs. We have like this island imagery of being in the sand, being on this island together, paradise, but there's isolation. Like, we're on this island by ourselves. That's interesting with the pirate imagery of having an island existing outside societal norms after the previous two songs, right? Where it was about like, hey, come on this journey with us. Even just like literally the intro being like, are you coming along? Are you boarding the ship? Are you going to be on this journey with us? And then being kind of on this island, it's like, cool, we've like joined, right? Us fans with the group, we're like, yes, we're going to join and be on this journey with you. And it's like, awesome. We're kind of just on this island right now. Like it has that feeling of like, it's still kind of a struggle, right? We have one of the lines where it was talking about that. Like, it's only a matter of time. But before this, yeah, like this isn't easy to face yet, of being like, hey, we're still kind of figuring it out. We're struggling. This is the beginning of their journey. They're not for one of the big companies. They're definitely, even just the previous music videos, working on a budget, working with what they had, definitely not the caliber of groups debuting from bigger companies in terms of visuals, sets, and costumes and all of that. So them being like, hey, we're kind of just figuring this out still as we're going. It's not easy yet. And we're on this island by ourselves with people who support us. So it's a little rocky right now, but we'll figure it out. I love the energy so far. I'm partway through the third song I've checked out from them, but this idea of like unwavering confidence in terms of like, I know that the thing that I want matters so deeply that I'm going to accomplish it. Not accomplishing it is unthinkable. This laser focus, not saying, hey, we're going to get this because we're entitled to it. We're going to work hard, go past obstacles, figure this out because it matters that much. It's not something that is going to come easy, but that doesn't mean that we just give up because we can't. We don't know how to do that because it's too important to who we are. I just really like that image of being so ingrained into who they are, that the idea of not being performers and watching the guide to this and how fate made this group come together together in terms of paths overlapping between the different members. It does feel like it's like, hey, we have to do this. No alternative option. I love the color imagery there too. I like that, like, I lay down and see everything too, is like has this feeling of daydreaming, right? Like kind of taking in the moment. We're stuck in this liminal time of the sun setting, but it's mine, and I get to enjoy this beautiful moment of we did it. And I think within their debut, how much work probably went in before this. I have some vague idea of it because I watched the guide, but that's not the same as having seen all of the stuff that they did leading up to them debuting, nor have they probably even shared the extent of everything that went into them working up to this moment, right? But the amount of work and years and labor that went into debuting, and I like that they're kind of in the lyrics, it has this feeling of, hey, we made it, right? Like we made it to the island. Right? Any kind of choppy seas or kind of being in the middle of nowhere on a ship, kind of lost at sea without an anchor. Hey, we found land, right? We get to take a break, a moment in paradise, like bask in this moment of we did it. We debuted. We started it. We're starting to accomplish things. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's going to just happen. Even though it's like, hey, it's a matter of time before you blink, being like, hey, eventually we're going to just like look around and we're going to have accomplished so many things. So it's kind of like letting yourself have that moment of like, let me enjoy the accomplishment, the victory of just having started, right? I think so many of us don't acknowledge how difficult that even starting out is one of the most difficult things. We all have dreams and aspirations. The reason we haven't done anything with them is because starting something is the most difficult thing to do. I like having that moment of, hey, I'll lay back and take everything in. I love the bounce in his voice too. Sir.
It's like Twilight, yeah. Oh baby, I just wanna see that Twilight. Wanna see that with you.
Ooh, all the like harmonies and stuff.
Tell me, yeah. Tell me, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
I hear that ad lib. Aww. Look, it's cute having this moment of, I don't know, like I like that this song has a very like upbeat feeling to it. There's almost this kind of like minimalism to a lot of the production. It feels like a quieter moment. It's important for the sincerity. What I love about B-sides is it's where artists play around more because they know if you're listening, you're a fan. It's a little bit of a freer space than singles where they can experiment and they can try out new things and they can kind of go down different avenues, especially if they're specifically trying to try out something new. But I feel like it is still sort of confined to some of the expectations because you're trying to bring more people in, right? Like you're releasing singles and music videos because you want more people to see them and you want to perform them at shows and get more people interested so that they go and explore more stuff from you. So there's a little bit of more of a intentionality to some of those than with like B-sides where it's like, what do we want to talk about? Themes and musicality, lyrical content and things that we want to focus more in terms of our messaging. And I like that this feels like a moment between them and their fans. Thank you for agreeing to be on this journey with me. It feels like, hey, tell me you love me. Thank you for coming aboard and joining us. It's going to be a lot involved in us getting through this, but thank you for supporting us. The line San always says, snatches my soul because it's gorgeous. Of being like, thank you for coming with me on this journey, saying we're on this island, talking about being in this place, being like, hey, even though we kind of have struggled to get to this point, you're this island in the middle of a sea. It's this feeling of thank you for being this place of dry land, of stability and solid footing after going through all these things. Thank you for being this refuge. Does that make sense? I hope so. It's also just fun. Ooh, fun cadence. Ooh, his voice there. I like that it matches like the wind instrument. Ooh, the little of a vibrato there. I hear you, sir. I like that we have flying in the sky, aiming for the sky. All that imagery. I'm just saying I better get space pirates or sky pirates or something, right? I better get some Treasure Planet level stuff. I'm just saying, just like a nod. Okay, thank you. We also have the Take My Hand. Was it Ouyang's part in Pirate King 2 where he talks about taking our hand? I can't remember. You think with the number of times I've listened to that song, I'd remember. But it's definitely during his part where he like is center of the formation. Anyway, I just think it's interesting that we're having these parallels in the lyrics pulling through. Ooh, okay. Multiple things with the lyric. Mingi sir, thank you for not going subterranean with your vocal delivery. It's easier to concentrate on what you're saying. I can find all the lyrics, but like even if it's time consuming, this wonderful moment, that's kind of like I was saying before about celebrating this moment of like, hey, we did it. Right? Like, because debuting is not an easy thing. There are lots of people who go into the idol trainee process and do not debut. People get close and then don't get the chance. Even within this group, people switched companies and kind of wandered around a little bit before they found something that worked for them, before they ended up in this group. So many things happen prior to debuting. And I love that they're just saying, let's enjoy this moment. We did it. We started this journey. We have people supporting us here to be part of this. I looked through some comments in this video. There's a little correction for part of it, but I wanted to make sure that there wasn't like a bunch of people pointing out that there were mistakes in it. And even in that, there's people commenting like 6 years ago who are like, hey, this group was going to go somewhere. I'm like, y'all were right. People who have stuck it out from back then and been with them this whole time believe they could make it. It's great they're taking this song to be like, hey, let's just acknowledge that we've done something incredible. Even if we haven't reached the heights we want to get to at some point in the future, it doesn't change the fact that we have accomplished something just by starting. I feel like I'm about to burst. That's just like a cute image of like the giddy excitement of, again, like having made it this far, even the like ecstatic moment, like, you know, talking about just having this giddiness and hope and I don't know, like excitement at the beginning of a journey. We all have that moment. It's the difficult slump in the middle you need to get through. But if we finally start something that matters, there's great excitement because we know it's finally starting. We're finally taking steps towards what we want instead of just dreaming. I love that they're just having this very like celebratory moment of like, oh my God, we're so excited that we get to do this. And that you are also here and you're excited about it. And that we get to just like take a breath and be like, we did it. Like all of the prep getting up to debuting and then they did it. And they're like, oh, we get to do this now. It's a crazy accomplishment. Even if it becomes like, we used to kind of say like the fog or haze that comes over memories. Like it's so clear and it's such a vivid emotion that you know that when you look back on this years later, you're going to remember all the details of it. Look, we're going back. I love the keys. I love the multiple infinities too. Like our infinity multiplies. Can we just talk about how there's this one little part of his voice when he's singing? You can hear a tiny bit of strain. And I do not say that as a critique. That is the part that gets me directly in my heart because it's the vulnerability of it. Like he's thinning out his voice so much. It doesn't break it necessarily, but it thins so much. You hear this strain in it and it feels so vulnerable and so delicate. And it makes me think of when you're feeling this very heightened emotion, your vocal cords tighten. And because of that, your voice can get like really wonky because you're kind of like restraining. There's so much like pressure around your voice box while you're feeling that intense emotion. And it feels like it's mimicking that in the way that he's singing it. It just like rips my heart out of my chest.
It's like Twilight, yeah. Oh, baby, I just wanna
Ooh, the vocals.
wanna see that with you.
Sir.
I just wanna see that Twilight. Wanna see that with you.
Ooh, gorgeous little transition into a mix there.
오늘도 너와 마무리를 하며 같은 하늘을 보고 있다면 네게 아니보다 더 큰 바람들은 없을 거라고 확신할 수 있다고
나를 믿어줘 오직 넌 돼. 저기 다 Twilight 예쁘지만 우린 절대 아직 on the right. 너처럼 밝게 빛나니까 그 노을 맞춰 우릴 본다면 질투하니까 We vampire 빛에 빛나지 wow.
Okay, multiple things. One, I love that we're looking at the same sky, even in different places. Cute. The winds, like sailing, pirate imagery. I don't think there's any wind as strong as this, right? Saying like what is going to push us forward, propel us forward is the back and forth between us and us being able to like support each other. And then the trust me, again, we had Mingi in, again, I think Treasure, but I might just be thinking that because that's the song I previously listened before this. But one of the other songs, he has a lyric where he talks about trusting him. So pulling that forward, but also the acknowledgement of vampires and Twilight. They're all the same age as me. They grew up in the same era. We all acknowledge that the word Twilight is going to summon memories of vampires and associations therewith. But I like that they're spinning it to be like, hey, vampires and like we're like eternal. We're gonna keep like doing this, and it's going to be kind of a legacy that lives on because we're going to create such waves. Again, pirate pun, sorry.
오늘도 너와 마무리를 하며 같은 하늘을 보고 있다면 네게 아니보다 더 큰 바람들은 없을 거라고 확신할 수 있다고
I love the way he bounces up in his voice. I love that we'll never get there, like there won't be an ending. Even though like, a lifelong glow. Look, we grew up in the same era, I get you. Ooh, ad-lib.
This is how I feel about you Twilight It's like Twilight, yeah
I love that we're ending. We began. It has a cyclical feeling to it as well of like, again, it feels like the suspended moment, right? Of them just being like, hey, let's have a second to live in the fact that this is a thing we accomplished and that you've joined the journey, right? Like, let's just be happy that we're on this journey together and saying like, hey, we're going to deal with obstacles. We're going to deal with challenges. We're going to have things thrown in our way that we're going to have to overcome. And we haven't reached the heights we want yet. Even talking about being on an island, that's sea level. That's the lowest you can get. And they're talking about wanting to be up in the sky. Picture being up in the sky, right? Saying we're going to get there. Keep that image in your head. Someday we're going to be there, but right now we're at sea level. They haven't accomplished all these dreams yet, but also this is exciting for them. It's the start. We're starting on the journey. We've gotten on the boat. We've got our crew. We're starting forward. It's not about being amazing and having all those things now. They're saying we're going to be this, this, and this because we refuse to accept any alternative reality. I feel like is leading into storyline things. We're not there yet, but you know what I mean. We refuse to accept a reality that does not include us being performers and being successful performers and being people who have an impact because of that. So I really like that that's the confidence in it. It isn't like braggadocious in terms of we're already all that. It's saying, hey, we are going to be famous. We are going to be successful. We are going to reach the stars. We are going to do all of these wonderful things because there is no alternative. They refuse for there to be something else. I love that they're saying, hey, we're going to work hard. We're going to deal with problems and we're going to have things that are going to be tricky for us. But it matters too much to us to be performers to accept any other reality. So I love that. And I love that it's like a fun, upbeat, like dancey thing. I really hope that there's choreo because the instrumentation begs for the performance. The photos here are from a performance. So that makes me optimistic, but I don't know. We'll see. We're moving on though, because I probably spent way too much time talking about the song. I'm sorry. I feel like this might be too little too late to warn you that joining me for album reactions is a commitment. I should have warned y'all to get settled in properly. If this is your first album reaction with me, you won't know. We don't breeze through. We linger. So we have stay, which I think in contrast to the previous song, which was like, hey, I'm so happy that we get to be in this moment. We're kind of like giddy with it, taking a little like breather in this journey to just like celebrate the excitement of having started the journey and having someone, people there who support and help you forward. Stay feels like it could get a little sad in my feelings because it's like, hey, you're here. You've joined the journey. Please stay. It might be a bop anyway, but I'm like, don't get me in my feelings. I've just joined the crew. I'm already too invested. I've already cried a lot during the guide, so I don't need this. Okay, it sounds fun so far. Look at their cute little pictures. Look at this cutie pie. Anyway. Ooh, fun little vocal run there. Ooh, okay, sir, respectively, Captain Sir, you're going too fast. I don't read that fast. I need y'all to slow down multiple times. Now, in just the last couple songs where his verses come in, I'm like, sir, some of us are slow readers. Give me a chance. But I also love that I was talking about in the last song, he does these kind of jump up in his song. There's a nice bounce to the cadences he chooses. I love that he slips in and out of a singing rap cadence and a strictly rap cadence. Like he kind of alternates between those two things. I don't know if I've seen something that feels like that consistent with the way that he's performing, at least in this album. It's interesting how he shifts in and out of those two cadences, because usually I will see someone kind of pick a lane with that. They will either be like rapping for a part and then they might do like another verse that is more in that like singing cadence, or they might switch to a singing cadence for a song. I don't see people who kind of like switch in and out for like a couple of lines and then they go back to the rap and then they're like doing the little sing song. I need him to be slower. I like the inspiration for my lyrics. No, son, your vocals are already coming for me, okay? We need to take a second. Listen to song. Sir, where have you been this whole album? Beautiful, light, breathy. Ooh, I love the tone he has. I also love the contrast between the softer, breathier vocal delivery and getting more closure as we build into the chorus. Great vocal runs from him in this song so far too. Ooh, vocal run. Great mix there too. Well, the ending there, the vocal runs are great. I love leaning into those vocals, especially since I feel like with the lead singles, right? With Pirate King and Treasure, definitely had the vocals, but I feel like there wasn't quite as much room as there are in at least these two B-sides I'm hearing so far, just because there's a specific instrumentation and a certain intensity to singles. Singles are supposed to grab attention. They're supposed to get people interested, intrigued, all of that. So there's going to be like standout moments of like really phenomenal vocals, right? And you're gonna lean in to people who can like be really show-stopping with the way that they can deliver vocals, especially for a debut, because you want people interested in your group and you want to snatch that attention. So you're leaning into the most interesting, unique, show-stopping moments of your group. Whereas B-sides is where you're like, okay, they might not all be Jungho, right? With the vocals, but that doesn't mean that they aren't great, right? So I like that we're getting more variety with our vocals on this. Like I was saying, Seonghwa, where were you this whole album? I know we had a few lines, a couple in the last one, but dang, you pulled up. Justice for Yosung, though. I better get a moment. He got a line at the end of this and it was beautiful. Gorgeous tone. I also like this idea of them talking about in the previous song being so happy and giddy to start this journey, and that there are people actually supporting me, and that we get to like have this moment of just like appreciating it. And then this one being like, I'm not going to let your support for me go to waste. It feels like them saying, hey, I'm gonna stand up for you, hold your hand, be there when you need me to, like all of these things of saying like, hey, I acknowledge that you supporting me is you taking a chance, is you investing in something not paid off yet. They're fantastic performers. The songs are great. I'm listening to them a bunch. I know they're good. I'm saying we are going to reach these fantastic heights. We have all these promises. Trust me has been brought up multiple times in the lyrics. This is them saying like, hey, I understand that there is a responsibility here for me to keep those promises. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. So just stay. You'll get to see it. right? I think that that's just like such a cute little thing. It makes me understand why we have such cute pictures here. But also the instrumentation, the vocal runs, I just want to listen to the whole thing again, but we don't have time for that right now. Such interesting synths. I love the like wind instruments that they're using. I like the close my eyes and then sun. When you look at the sun, there's kind of this after image when you close your eyes, right? Don't look at the sun. It's not worth it. We all know there's a bit of an after image when you like look at a light and then you close your eyes and you have that after image. And that's like the image that they're having there of you shine so brightly in this that even when I close my eyes, there's still kind of this after image of you being there. That's so cute. Ooh, that wind down. Ooh, I also like that we're bringing the wind in because no wind is as strong as this, comparing like, hey, I can only move forward because the fans are there to be the wind in our sails and help us continue on this journey. I acknowledge that I'm not going anywhere unless there are fans there to support me. And again, I'm going to keep my promise. If you just stay for a little bit, I promise it's going to pay off and I'm going to meet all of these things that I've said I'm going to do. A little cry in his voice. Gorgeous. It just bops too. I think it's interesting we have this like very like steady beat throughout it. Obviously it's kind of this dance beat going through it. This very like prominent steady beat, like it almost like a heartbeat. It's like a calm heartbeat, right? Like it doesn't have this like quick pace to that drum beat going throughout it. It's a steady, grounded beat goes through the whole thing. And I think that that's such a good instrument to kind of bring in, not only because again, it's a great way of kind of keeping time for something that has more of a dance beat to it, but also because it has that steady grounding to it. And that's what they're talking about through this whole thing of being like, I know it sounds daunting and we have to put this in the context of their debut. I have to think back 6 years to when they were just starting out and it wasn't the kind of success that they've reached in more recent times. And, you know, it probably wasn't easy to be fans. I've been fans of groups at the beginning of their journey and having that journey be rocky. So it's not always easy to be fans of that group and to kind of be able to stick by them, especially someone like me who's not in South Korea. What I have access to is very limited depending on how much popularity or backing that group has, how much the company is willing to invest in them doing schedules and posting stuff and all of that. It's tricky to support groups with the kind of coverage or access we have to let them know we're supporting them. I like having this kind of steady beat throughout it of being like this reliable beat throughout it, right? It's very predictable. It's very steady. It's very prominent. It's not rushed. It has this feeling of being like super solid in the production. And I think that's good production storytelling to go along with the lyrics. I also like grip and then hold my hand. Those two kind of words coming together. I love the layered vocals there. Sir. Okay, just before we wind up, the cry in his voice pulling up his chest voice, you could hear him pulling it up. And for anyone who wants to know what that kind of is, it's like if you yell, right? If you shout, that's kind of like you pulling up your chest voice, mixing it into your head voice. You can hear the shouting tone to it. Not only is he doing it gorgeously, it raises the energy of the song going into the final part, but also there's like this conviction to it of like contrasting to the previous song. They've thinned out their voices so much, there's vulnerability. It feels delicate. It feels like it could break. And that is like, there's a certain emotion to that. Whereas Jungho here is like such a powerful voice and like having that like shouting, yelling tone to it that it feels very strong. It feels like there's a ton of conviction behind what he's saying. Ooh, pulling everything back. Slowly incorporating it in. Ad-lib! Sorry. Not sorry, but... the vocal run, sir! Sorry, who's all the way up there? Is it you too? Lower vocal run? Ooh, I love that we had stay throughout all of the song being kind of this vocal run, very elongated. I love that that kind of emphasizes that word, and also stay is like wanting someone to stick around. So having that word drawn out is a great way of having that lingering feeling as part of the song, and then having the last version of it be very cut off, like conviction. There's a finality of saying like stay, right? And not having any room for kind of like doubt within that. And again, a bunch of you did, because you know they've done a bunch of other stuff since this moment, so it has this final period conviction to it that I really like. The vocals going off in the back though, I'm gonna assume some of that was Jungho, especially at this point. Cute song though. I like that we're getting some of that in, you know, in comparison to what like Pirate King was, which I feel like I'm never gonna like fully recalibrate from. I feel like a part of my soul is still in Pirate King and Treasure because Mingi. It's nice to have a break from that. Demon Line, just leave me alone a little bit and let it be cute for a bit. All right, My Way. The amount of self-restraint it is taking me not to start saying Sinatra. Be proud of me. The pictures are in a different order than they were before though, and that is going to mess my brain up. I thought we were going, what were we in age order before? Now we're mixed up. My brain is unhappy, but that's okay. They're cutie pies. Except for whatever, why are we serving face over here? Everyone else is being cute, except me. I don't need to talk to you. How are we gonna end up this album? Sentimental, sad, whatever. My Way is making me think, deviating. I've talked about how Pirates is in and of itself someone who is deviating from societal expectations, someone who is willing to not fit in line with what they are expected to want or to live, or, you know, it is a very like alternative way of living your life. But it also comes from a place of like desperation and feeling like you have been abandoned by the system and therefore you need to invent your own way for it. I'm not gonna lecture about pirate history, even though I want to. Fits with their underdog story of, again, they all kind of came from different companies in different places and ended up finding themselves at the same place and having to work really hard to get to where they're at and kind of make do with what they had and getting to this point of debuting. So My Way feels like saying, hey, I'm gonna do things in my own way that I want to do it and not be worried about how other people are doing it. I even saw in the guide where it was Hongjoong talking about how if they're going to have a song, it needs to be very distinct. It needs to be something that only ATEEZ can perform. So that may be part of the stuff that we're talking about in here. Or it could be My Way is like going on my way of going on this journey in this direction. Maybe both, maybe neither. Just spitballing ideas. Interesting samples happening so far.
Finally we begin. Yeah. 길고 길었어 딱 여기까지 수고했던 말은 하긴 일러 아직까지 시작이 반이면 I'm here for the good life I'm on my way 난 모습 반은 끝까지 즐겨야지 better life 이젠 인정의 삶은 깨나기 marathon 차이는 코스를 가정해서 간단 걸 끝없는 질문은 무슨 완치대가 어지럽힐 때 넘겨도 괜찮지만 오늘은 순수히 축하해줘 나 아니 우리 첫 스텝
look, I was like, hey, he slowed down and then sped up on me. But I love the samples. In the intro, we had samples of the seaside, waves, and seagulls. It has a feeling almost like Cheers. We have the claps that are part of the production. I don't really know, but it feels a bit cyclical in that way, that we're kind of having a similar kind of ambient sound sample as part of the production. So many lyric things though. I feel like that's either this whole thing.
Finally we begin. Yeah. 길고 길었어 딱 여기까지. 수고했던 말은 하긴 일러.
I love that it's too early to say you've done a good job. It feels like they aren't saying we're this and this. They're not having this kind of list of things that they're fantastic about at or whatever. They're saying like, hey, we are going to do this and accomplish these things. We have the conviction and dedication to get there. We're not there yet. I like that humble feeling while acknowledging they have what it takes to keep going. And I like that's being present. I also like we're getting to the end of the album and it's like, finally we begin, right? The last song is the beginning, right? And I have to put into context that this is something that they also put together before it had been released to people, right? Like this is something that they put together. We're like, we have no idea what is going to happen after we debut, after people actually listen to this album and watch the music videos and all of that, which must be such a scary thing. Keeps the context of all of this stuff is written pre-debuting, even though they had stuff before that, people supporting them before, lots of steps before their first song. It must be scary to be like making all this stuff and being like, I have no idea what's going to happen after this, like working so hard and not knowing the outcome.
시작이 반이면 I'm here for the good life. I'm on my way 나 멋이 빠는 끝까지 즐겨야지 better life. 이젠 인정의 삶은 깨나기 marathon.
I love life is a long marathon. Ooh, like the difference now is I get to set the course. Love that. Taking control, going into the pirate imagery of like being someone who has decided to deviate from what is expected or deviate away from the kind of structured life that they were living before because it didn't serve them and it wasn't helping them get what they wanted, therefore taking an alternate path. I like this idea of Captain saying it, so also is nice that he's like acknowledging that he's like, hey, I get to choose now. I get to be at the helm. I get to decide the course. And him being like, I acknowledge that, you know, life is a long marathon. Life is something that there are tons of twists and turns and it isn't something that I can just like race forward into. Even them like acknowledging throughout these lyrics of being like, hey, this is going to be something, what they said, like 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to see what happens. That is them acknowledging, like, hey, like it's going to take a few years for us to get to the momentum that we need, but that's okay. The marathon is not what scares us. What scares us is that we run for that long and realize we're not headed towards where we want to be. So them saying like, hey, the difference now is that I get to set the course. I love that. The countless standards mess up. Ooh, that flip up. Sir. Ooh, okay, first I gotta go back for the lyrics. I love that up and that like flip up in the voice as well. His tone. Oh, stop. Y'all can't give me performance spoilers. I beg your pardon. Fine, I'm not gonna look at it. We're gonna listen to the song. Y'all can't give me nothing. I don't want to know yet. We're gonna check it all out. It's fine. Ooh, are you giving me brass? But with, I'm sorry, y'all give me brass? But almost like a MIDI or a filter? Y'all can't do that to me. I love jazz. I just went into this being like, I can't sing Sinatra because that's not what we're talking about. Don't do that to me. This group is a problem. I understand why so many people are fans, and passionately so. I also understand why I avoided it for so long. I was just like, I can't be devoted to a group of men who have no idea that I exist. I can't live like that more than I already have. I've been in K-pop for a bit, it's fine. But I can't get out, can I? Also, in the lyrics, we talked about rowing. Again, but we had Pirate King. We also had the rowing as part of the lyrics as well. Again, kind of this like cyclical nature to it of being like, hey, we acknowledge that this is the beginning. We haven't journeyed far yet, but it doesn't mean that this moment shouldn't matter and we shouldn't celebrate it. Oof. Okay. First, I feel like we all have a cheer sample. The wind up with the brass instruments. I love that we have so many layers where they're all singing. It has this great feeling of like collective energy to the group of them all singing at the same time and having the same conviction and goal. They're all singing together on the same page. And I love that. Also, dreams are everywhere. Talking about going after the things that matter to you. And that was what I was talking about all the way back in the intro. They're saying you're going to accomplish these things, but also what is your treasure? What is so important to you that it lives in your dreams? You think about it all the time. It's an after image when you close your eyes, ingrained into who you are. The idea of not accomplishing it or not impacting the world because of that passion is not an option. Let yourself start that journey. You don't have to think 100 steps ahead. What's the first step you can take? How do you start the journey? There's this feeling of celebration throughout the album. Their performance and instrumentation. You should go after the things that matter to you. It doesn't have to be a dream. It doesn't have to be something that's like super grandiose, right? It doesn't have to be, you know, something that is luxurious. Like I was talking about, like it doesn't have to be gold or jewels or whatever that's your treasure. It can be something simple to you. Maybe your goal is to have connections with people. Maybe it's to be with your family, be happy, enjoy or protect nature. It can be those little things. It doesn't have to be grandiose, but if it matters to you, let yourself have it. Let yourself work for it. Think about the possibility of it being a reality. Many of us talk ourselves out of our dreams because we try to be like practical, or other people tell us to be practical. And I think that that leaves us so unhappy because we think we can't have things that are part of who we are. And we should take a step towards it. It doesn't have to be a grand plan. It doesn't have to be something that we're immediately super good at or accomplish all these great things right away. You just take a step to start the journey. And even if it means that you have to do your own thing, you know, do it your way and deviate from what people expect of you. If it's so part of who you are, the people that matter will support you, right? The people who actually care about you are going to encourage you to be more sincere with who you are. That's the vibe I'm getting, and I like it. I love the keys coming through. 항상 돌봐주길 바랬어 맞아 나 자신에 대해서 혼자가 된단 순간 내게 무척 힘이 들었어 내 곁을 지키던 기억들이 하나씩 무너져갈 때쯤에 주위 둘러싼 모든 것들이 사라진다 생각했기 때문에 돌아보지 않아 인생은 끝이 없음 알기에도 흔들렸던 나 자신도 변화인 걸또 알기에도 잊을 수 없다면 즐겨 청춘이란 단어 피게도 이 순간 아픔은 버려 날아가기에 Ooh. I like that. I like the keys coming in because there's a certain vulnerability, sincerity to the piano. It can be more complicated, but it's pulled back the production so it lets it breathe. I love the kind of story of like, I've been shaken. Like the moments I'm alone, it's hard for me. Like acknowledging that this is something that has been difficult for them too. And not just in terms of obstacles, external things that they've had to go up against. It's also like them acknowledging that they too have been afraid of things, right? Of saying, hey, I've struggled. And I know from the guide that Mingi has had struggles, mental health things, and had to take breaks and all of that. And as someone who also has a mental health things and is a little too familiar with what a panic attack feels like for my own comfort, lots of people struggle with. Saying go after your dreams is like an easy thing to say, but there are lots of people who have stuff going on internally and externally and are kind of battling with themselves. You know, imposter syndrome, saying you're not good enough, saying you don't deserve it, saying that it isn't something that you can accomplish. That can be something that you're taking from external factors. There could be people in your life who are saying that directly to you, or it could just be an internal monologue. And I think that having something that is talking about having those struggles and acknowledging that collapsed one by one of like the memories kind of like coming down and like talking about how in this moment you can kind of forget it, taking a moment to acknowledge the victory of having gotten this far, right? Of saying like, hey, the fact that I started was like this huge accomplishment. Like again, starting is the hardest thing and it can feel small, like it's not going to be good enough when you're thinking 100 steps ahead, or you're looking at people who have done tremendous things and you're comparing yourself to them. Taking the first step is a huge accomplishment. Letting yourself enjoy the moment, letting yourself enjoy the victory, letting yourself acknowledge that you have accomplished something, that there are people supporting you, whether fans or members in the group. I don't look back of like, hey, I can't, yes, there are struggles, yes, there are things that have happened in the past, but like I can't focus on that. I can't be too busy looking back that I don't see forward. There's so many lyrical things that I want to pull apart in just these few songs. And I'm like, I can't do all of it. I can't do all of it. Since this is the start of me also getting into them, it'll be really interesting. Just even within this, I've seen them kind of pull lyrics forward. I'm interested to see as I go through other albums and B-sides, how they pull motifs, themes, and lyrics through their music? What is a thing that continues to pop up and they reference back to?
이게 my way. 이게 our way.
Also the like acknowledgement of I wanted you to take care of me, and then finding your own strength, acknowledging you have to take the lead, steering your own ship, making your own path, being in charge of the course forward. And I feel like that is part of what perhaps Mingi is also talking about in his lyrics of I've struggled with all these things and I thought that I needed someone to take care of me, that I needed somebody to decide things for me, and kind of taking that control back and saying actually I get to decide what my future is going to be, and so do you. Maybe? I don't know.
이게 our way.
항상 돌봐주길 바랬어 맞아 나 자신에 대해서 혼자가 된단 순간 내게 무척 힘이 들었어 내 곁을 지키던 기억들이 하나씩 무너져 갈 때쯤에 주위를 둘러싼 모든 것들이 사라진다 생각했기 때문에 돌아보지 않아 인생은 끝이었음 알기에도 흔들렸던 나 자신도 변화인 걸 또 알기에도 잊을 수 없다면 즐겨 청춘이란 단어 앞이게도 이 순간 아픔은 버려 날아가기에
Also the acknowledging youth and then grow up. I like the little bit of rasp in his voice too. No! I refuse! Not yet. But we'll get to it. I like that apparently there's some kind of dance break at this particular instrumentation. I also love just go wherever you're going. This is my way. I can take this two avenues, talking to people who doubt them or tell them that they shouldn't be doing this or that this is like the wrong path for them to be taking. They're doing it the wrong way, right? Then being like, you can follow whatever structure and expectation you want. This is my way. I'm going to do my own thing. And like, it's okay, right? Like we're not hurting anybody by doing our own thing. We're not interfering with your ability to do what you're doing. We're going to deviate and go our own directions, and that's okay. I can also take it as them talking to their fans directly, the people who supported them up to this point, to get them to the point of debuting. Them saying, hey, I'm being an idol, debuting, I'm pursuing music, being a performer. That's my path. What's yours? Go on your journey. Like I was talking about feeling like this parallel of, hey, we've worked hard and we've gotten to this point. We're starting our journey. It's not the end. It's going to be difficult. We're going to struggle with things. But like, if you're coming along with us, joining us, don't just say, we're going to be fans. Join this in terms of enjoying the music, performances, supporting them. Hey, we want you to come on this journey of what is important to you. What is your dream? What is the path you want to take? If you have to deviate, we'll support you. You should have a goal and a dream. Don't be afraid. Dreams are everywhere. It's okay to not know what your dream is right now. I don't know what core belief is going to make everything lock into place. And I think that when we think of, I need a dream to motivate me, that can be really scary because it's like, I have to like lock myself to something specific. And it's like, hey, don't be afraid. Dreams are everywhere. You're going to find something that resonates with you. You're gonna find something. You just have to explore a little bit, maybe, right? You have to go out and live life a little bit, and you're gonna figure out the things that matter to you or the things that light you up, make you giddy, have that feeling of I don't feel the pain anymore. Like with Mingi's verse, you have to find that thing that makes you unexplainably happy and that you consistently feel yourself pulled towards. And sometimes that just means you need to wander around for a little bit, right? Especially if they have a lot of younger fans, which I'm assuming they do, just given the age group of them debuting, and also like K-pop in general, groups tend to kind of cater towards the younger side, and then kind of the fandom kind of develops over time. But it's tricky when you're 20. How young were they? Jungho was like 18, right? So like, as someone who has lived through being in your early 20s, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I have to go to university because that's what I'm supposed to be doing at 18, right? I'm supposed to graduate from high school and then go to post-secondary. Then the world locked down. So I didn't really get the best outcome from that, but it did make me stop and think about what I wanted. It's okay when you're young to not know what you want, to not have a dream, to not have an idea of like what 5 years in the future is going to look like, let alone 10, let alone 20, let alone 50, right? Like it's okay to not have your whole life planned out. I like that idea. Figure out what makes you happy, your passions, what resonates with you. It doesn't have to be a plan. It doesn't have to be a dream. It doesn't have to be this huge accomplishment that you are aiming for. Maybe wander, and that's okay. I like that. of like synth. Sorry, we got your song lines. I also love this, like, I'm gonna keep walking, right? Walking is not fast. It's acknowledging the marathon before us. Take the first step. It doesn't have to be this grand gesture that you make. It can be one step forward. I think when you guys get intimidated, myself included, your boy has anxiety. If anyone can catastrophize and jump ahead, it's me. What is something I can do that is small, tiny? One of the things my mom taught me was what's something that can take 2 minutes or less. And that was always how I kind of shrunk down something that was overwhelming me or upsetting me or that was too much. Is like, okay, let's simplify this down to something that takes 2 minutes, because 2 minutes is like an easy ask for me to do something. I have attention span for 2 minutes, but it just kind of simplifies it down. It's like, okay, just do something towards this goal that you have or this thing that you need to deal with that takes 2 minutes. And you've taken a step forward. You've taken that step. And if you need to take a break, you can. I just like that. But also, yo, sunlights. Vocals! I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, you don't need to match that synthy horn with your voice. Let the instrumentation do it. Dang, a little distracted there at the end. I just want to see what our last line, we can do everything. What a great place to end. I love this idea of like encouragement. Like I was saying it, even all the way back at the beginning, I'm like, this feels like them saying like, hey, yes, join us on this journey. Yes, support us, care about our music and our performances and the things that we're releasing, but also find the thing that matters to you and we'll go on the journey together. Right? Not just in terms of you following along with us, but have your own thing that motivates you, your own thing that, again, brings you happiness. And it doesn't have to be something grand. It doesn't have to be something that is very luxurious. I feel like so many of us look at kind of success through this very like materialistic lens or very like simplified lens of success. Kind of we copy and paste what other people tell us success is, as opposed to finding our own way, finding our own things that bring us happiness. I mean, I say this as somebody who's like, hey, one of my goals is not to make a bunch of money. Money doesn't, I understand like money as like a basic concept. My brain just kind of like clocks out when it comes to conversations of money. That's, I have other people to help me manage all that, to be a functional adult. If success is making billions, that does not bring me motivation or happiness. I don't want to do that. So like if you tell me like you're never gonna be rich, I'm like, that's totally fine with me. That is not a goal of mine, even though that might be a marker for success on a simplistic societal scale. Maybe I'm just projecting as somebody who grew up in North America, and that seems to be part of the societal consciousness of what success is. But that doesn't make me happy. Watching the sunrise makes me happy. Drinking tea, listening to music, singing, dancing, those bring me a lot of joy. Having more time to do those things is an admirable goal, and I think that people need to acknowledge and have space for that. I think we put arbitrary restrictions on ourselves because we think that isn't the path everyone else is taking. Then don't take that path. It's going to be more difficult than following the tracks of other people, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing, that it won't get you to where you actually want to be. It won't get you to a better destination. And I just like this acknowledgement of, I don't know, like encouragement to be like, we want you to get your dreams at the end. We're going to go on this journey. There's going to be lots of twists and turns. We acknowledge this isn't going to be easy, but we want you to go after your dreams while we're doing it. It feels really cute. Like I talked about before, it feels like this intertwined connection between ATEEZ and ATEEZ of, again, like holding each other's hand, bringing each other along, of support between the two of them, and like acknowledgement that they aren't going to get anywhere without their fans, and also being like, hey, we want to be a motivation, a beacon, a person who can pull you up and help you along your journey for your dreams. For a debut, I know very little about this group, but I just feel that baked into so many of the things that they're doing, and it's so cute. I love that. That was honestly a lot cuter than I thought it was gonna be, right? Because like Pirate King's got a vibe. Even Treasure, it's a little bit less into those darker tones musically, but it still has a certain vibe. I was like, okay, fine, we're gonna be kind of leaning into some of that. And it was just like, now that all of the other people who aren't super interested in our group are not here, it's just us and our fans. Hi, how are you? But just like it has this wonderful feeling. The first song has this giddy feeling with Twilight of being, oh my god, we did it. It's super excited. It's so cute. Let's enjoy and celebrate. We've made it to viewing and we're a debut group and then you're a fan of a debuted group now. It just has this wonderful back and forth glee and joy to it that I think is so cute. And then going into Stay, which is like this acknowledgement of, you know, like I was saying, of like, I understand that I've made all these promises. I understand that I'm kind of taking on a lot of things that I've said that we're going to do all of these things. And I fully intend to keep those promises and kind of standing strong. We're going to accomplish all of these. I'm making this promise. I'm going to keep it and just stay a little longer and you're going to start to see some of this pay off. And I think that's such a cute thing too. Going to the last one, what is your treasure? What motivates you to go after your dream too? If you don't have a solid dream, go after what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. Go after the thing that when you're talking about it, you come alive. Like there's a spark in your eyes when you're talking about it. And it's something that you really care about. And I think that there are so many of us don't go after that because it's not logical or whatever. I have a degree, an arts degree. But when I talk about linguistics, I light up. People have told me so many times that I just get so excited when I'm talking about it because it's something that I just love and I have so much interest in. And so many people are like, oh, so like, what are you gonna do with that? I'm like, do with that? Nothing. I just like it. You know, I think that we have so many points in our life where people tell us that us enjoying something needs to have some kind of grand purpose. Even us, hey, us here listening to K-pop, how many times have people told us that that is like not something we should be spending time on? Okay, when I'm having a difficult day, listening to these songs make me super happy. Dancing to them makes me super happy. Getting to watch my favorite groups just like be dorks and play games makes me happy, makes me laugh, makes me get to have like a break from all of the madness in the world. What's bad about that? Like, can connect people, right? People in my comments make me feel like I'm connecting with people who have a shared thing, or we get to like pick apart different themes in songs. People who meet a bunch of people at concerts and end up having friendships and all of that. Like that, those are all things that have sparked from us finding a common ground of something we love and brings joy. And we need to lean into that more. We need to let ourselves be happy. I don't know at what point we agreed that things need to be a struggle to matter. And that's something that I'm deconstructing. I have a therapist to help me through that. I think so many of us in the West have acknowledged to pull yourself by your bootstraps. Hard work will pay off, American dream and all of that. It doesn't have to be difficult. Sometimes we need to find things that align with us, and that even if there are difficult times, it doesn't deter us because we love what we're doing. I think we need to let ourselves be happy, go after stuff that makes us happy, and invite more of that into our life. I like that this album feels like it's leaning into that. It feels hopeful, joyous, and celebratory. I really like that's part of this debut. It doesn't have the same intensity I've felt with other debuts. There are debuts that I've watched and I'm like, it feels very much like they are trying to prove something, and that they're kind of, there's like this undercurrent of like insecurity to it. And there's definitely some of that here, acknowledging they're not there yet. It's too early to say we've done a good job, right? But there's also this very like victorious feeling of like, yeah, but we made it here. We started, and that's incredible in itself. I really like getting that vibe over this album. I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this place to go to my previous reactions. You can subscribe so you don't miss the next time I post an ATEEZ reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.